Hello, welcome to week 9, Math 300 Tidbits. In this video, I'm going to go over a few problems similar to what you're going to see on your quiz. Let's go ahead and get started. About 7% of the population has O negative blood type. In a random sample of 120 people, 10 are found to have O negative blood. What is the probability that 10 or more people in the sample have O negative blood? All right, so I want to make a reference to your text, which is for a simple random sample of size n with population proportion p, we're going to want to use this formula here for our standard deviation. And so the way that I know to use this is because we are given the population proportion p in this first sentence. Okay, so it says about 7% of the population has O negative blood type. All right, so that's going to be P. So P is equal to 0.07 because, of course, we have to get rid of the percent. And I'm going to go ahead and find 1 minus P. And I want to go ahead and find that because in my formula, I'm going to multiply P times 1 minus P, right? And so if P is 0.07, 1 minus 0.07 is 0.93. And a quick check for you is to just make sure that when you add these two numbers together, they should always equal 1, since we're doing 1 minus whatever P is equal to. All right, and then I want to also go ahead and point out that N is equal to 120. So remember, N is the number of people in our sample. All right, so we're going to be able to plug that in for our standard deviation. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is that we are trying to find the probability that 10 or more people in the sample have O negative blood. We know that about 7% of the population has O negative blood. So what's the probability that 10 or more people in this sample will have O negative blood? We need to think about how we would find that. And since it says 10 or more people, then X is going to be greater than or equal to, we're going to use greater than or equal to because it's 10 or more. But we want to do 10 compared to the sample group, which is 120. So that will be 10 divided by 120. Now, in this case, all right, and so I want to also point out that since this is greater than or equal to, we are going to be talking about the right shade for our normal distribution, okay? And we are going to be using Desmos. And so if you haven't watched Professor Keller's video for this week, you're going to want to watch that too. That will help you with this. So I'm going to go into Desmos in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do normal distribution, and it's going to ask, of course, for the mean and the standard deviation. Our mean is our population proportion in this example. So in that case, that would be 0.07. And then our standard deviation is this really fun formula right here, all this, right? But we've already done a lot of work for that, okay? So it's going to be the square root of, and then we have a fraction. We'll have 0.07 times 0.93 divided by n, which is 120. All right, so I'm going to be typing that into Desmos. And then for the calculation, I want the probability that X is greater than or equal to 10 over 120. All right, and that's going to give me my approximate probability. And I want to tell you that for 10 over 120, that actually calculates to approximately 0.0833, that ratio. We know that 7% of the population has O negative, so the fact that there is about 8% in this sample that have O negative, that's very interesting. But we can actually calculate this using the normal distribution, and that's what we're going to do. So I didn't want to type in this decimal because it goes on forever, and that's why I left it like this. And I also wanted to have a dramatic effect showing you where the numbers go. All right, so let's go into Desmos. And I'm going to go ahead and type this in. You can actually literally type in the word normal, D-I-S-T, or you can go to functions and scroll down until you get to probability distributions. I'm going to pick normal distribution. I'm going to type in what we've already talked about, the 0.07, comma, square root fraction of 0.07 times 0.93 over the size of the population, which is 120. Now, when you do this, you might not even see your graph because it all depends on your Zoom, and you could probably spend a whole day playing with your Zoom and trying to make it look perfect. So I don't want you to get hung up on that, because what we really want to find is the cumulative probability. We want to go to the right since it's greater than or equal to, and then right here, I'm going to be typing in 10 over 120. And then you can see I get approximately 0.284. And if I click on it, it actually shows me that decimal like even farther. All right, so I'm going to round to the nearest thousandth, so 3 decimal places. So approximately 0.284 for me. And so you have a question quite similar. And so there is basically a 28% that the probability that 10 or more people will have sample O negative blood. All right, let's try another question. Quiz example 2. A sample of 49 men produced a mean weight loss of 15 pounds. The population is normally distributed. So we're given that it's normally distributed with the mean of 13.7 and a standard deviation of 6. What is the probability of getting the sample mean weight loss of 15 or more pounds? Okay, so this example is giving us different information. We are given a simple random sample of size n drawn from a population where we're given the mean and standard deviation, which is kind of like a lot more straightforward. So this one's actually going to be easier. We don't have to do as many calculations, which is kind of nice, right? So we are going to use the standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample. All right, so in this case, I need the fact that the sample is 49 and my average here, my mean, is 13.7. That is my population mean with a standard deviation of 6. All right, so the standard deviation is 6. And so when we use this formula here, we're going to basically have 6 over the square root of 49. And I know that you can actually calculate that number, but to be dramatic, I want to remind you that it's going to go right here. We're using this formula. And then our mean is given, it's 13.7. So you can see this is a little more direct. We're trying to find the probability getting the sample mean weight loss of 15 or more pounds. Well, that will be shown here when we're trying to find that probability. Once again, this is going to be to the right since it's 15 or more. All right, so I'm going to use Desmos again, but this is going to be a little more direct based on the information we were given. All right, so let me go back to Desmos, and I'm going to actually, I'm just going to change it. I'm just going to edit it. That might be a little simpler. So I'm going to delete this part. I'm going to put 13.7 for my mean. And then over here, let me get rid of some of that fun stuff. I have fraction key, and then I'm going to have 6 over the square root of 49. I know the square root of 49 is 7, but I'm trying to be over dramatic to show you what that would look like. Whoops, I accidentally put an extra decimal there. There we go. All right, now we are wanting to find the right, and this is going to become 15. And you can see here, we've got that number right here, about 0.065. So about 0.065 for this one. And then, like I said, I know you might not be able to see your graph, but I don't want you to get hung up on that, because really we're just trying to get that calculation. So 0.065, approximately 0.065 would be the probability of getting the sample mean weight loss of 15 or more pounds. All right, I hope this video helps you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.